Politicians for breakfast, to infinity, it's endless. Bill and Hillary, George Bush, everybody's getting it. Presidents, Supreme Court, justices and senators. Run up in the White House, erase people, edit them. Press delete, hit them in the chest.
I did it again, baby. Yeah!
Welcome back, football fans. YouTube, what's up? It's Justin's Pro Football Scouting Analysis. On today's video, there is a ton to get into, and we will start it off with the defensive side of the football. We kind of did a dry erase breakboard on the offense, but we're going to go back over it again and get all the little details we left out last video. Just a lot to go over, so hang in there, bear with me, and we'll get through most of it all. This is going to be obviously pre free agency and pre-draft recorded, so we'll just try to see what we can't get done with some of it and see where it goes. We'll start off with the defensive side. Here is the defense in its current status right now as we speak, pre-free agency for 2020 and pre-draft and even combine workouts, all of it. This is just before. And when you get a good look at it, the red bricks are the building blocks of the foundation, which are obviously in the future plans. And then the black lines are open spots, and just their names are guys who are currently on the roster if they're there. Right now you can get a good look at it and see where we're really weak at, obviously. On the edges for the outside linebackers, we really don't have too much, and we don't have no one techs. And we could use another corner to go with Howard, and we don't even know what's going to happen with that situation as far as he could be suspended for the first 4 games. We don't know what's up. But starting off with the building blocks right there, you get a good look at it, where we're weak at. Here's a closer look at the line of scrimmage for the defensive side and basically your front 7. We can see where we have building blocks with Wilkins, Godshaw, Ledbetter, and Van Ginkel. We know will be back. I'm not really going to stake my ties to too much of the Quan and the Baker. We'll see where it goes. I'm imagining out of both of them, maybe both of them get a contract. We'll see. We'll see going down the line further. But those are the building blocks there. You might as well consider McMillan and Baker as blocks as well. I don't know if they're going to be getting long-term deals or not. We'll get into more of that here. Then here's a more in-depth look at our defensive backfield, which you have Stephen Parker, who we got last year off of waivers, and then Eric Rowe, who got re-signed. I'm sure we could use another safety there. You could go ahead and put McCain in there if you want, but I think they'll get a different safety somewhere and put McCain back to corner, probably in the slot. Here's a look at the other cornerback side. Needham, obviously, I think will be in the plans. I'm not sure about Tankersley, Webster, or Hayes. We'll see how it all goes and plays out. Currently, they're on the roster, though. This is just the other side of the field. And then this is the left side of the field, which would be Howard's side. And McCain's right there, too. Wiltz will be back, I'm sure. I know he will. Then Lewis and Causey. Causey was on a futures contract. Anybody who's got the 2 dots around him like that on the board is a futures contract. I think it was like Carlock, Causey, and somebody else. I forgot who it was. But this is just an in-depth look at the depth chart as well from side to side, unless you didn't get a good look at it from the full angle. We'll get into more player by player here. All right, let's start from the inside out on the defense. Wilkins, will be his 2nd year coming into it here. I think there's more to Wilkins than what you saw in his first year. His first year was just to get his feet wet in a developmental year. He did show some good signs and some bursts on the field. He showed glimpses of being pretty decent. I think there's more to Wilkins, and I think he'll develop decently into his second year. I'm not going to say he's going to make a huge jump, but I think he'll make a jump in the next season. So Wilkins is a building block. Moving on. Devon Godshaw. Now, everybody knows that they've been talking about re-signing Godshaw to a long-term deal. As far as having someone else at the D-line other than Wilkins, this would be it. Wilkins and him both, though, project as 3 techs. I wouldn't say any of them is a 1-tech guy. We'll get more into the 1-tech as we get further along in the conversation, but Godshaw is a great player, has been showing great rise, is a player with the arrow on the up. Probably does deserve a new deal. We'll see. Probably somewhere in the $6 million, maybe the $9 million range. We'll see what they offer him, but I think he's going to have a new deal coming soon. Here's another player, Taco Charlton, who is also currently on the roster. I'm not too sure if they're going to bring him back or not. I know he needs to play on the left side of the defense, probably left end. Maybe could stand him up. I don't know about that too much. More or less just 3 tech. Put his hand in the ground. We'll find out if they're going to keep him where he's at or if they're going to move on from him. As it states right now, he's currently on the roster. So we'll see what they do with Taco. Here's the next guy that's on the roster that was hurt last year, Jonathan Ledbetter. From Georgia last year, was an undrafted pick. I think he looks really good and has some promising upside to him. Right now, he's hopefully fully healthy and ready to come into camp and make a name for himself. We'll find out, but he's currently on the roster and someone I think has a little bit of upside as well to him. We'll get into a little bit more of the other guys who could help us out if they are brought back. And here's everybody's favorite linebacker, or defensive player that probably don't want them on their team. This guy right here, I think will end up getting dropped off the roster. Some people think maybe he's a late bloomer. I think he ends up going. I think he gets cut off the team this year and someone takes his place. He's really fast and does have some quick, good hands, but he just doesn't stack and shed up like I would like my edge rushers to do, or my defensive linemen for that matter, or even my linebackers. I'm not that fond of some of our players' stacking and shedding abilities, but this guy I think has to go and will go. And that's exactly how I feel about Charles Harris. He can go ahead and get lost. Have since the beginning of the Charles Harris experiment. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. So moving on, here we got Raekwon McMillan, which also figures into our defensive scheme unless they have other plans, which I think you could see movement out of the linebackers. I really do. He's our only thumper we got, but I mean, you could go get a linebacker to tackle. I don't think he's any more than a 2-down player right here to come down on rundowns and, thump somebody down. But moving on. Here's an intriguing player, Jerome Baker, who's probably due for a contract here in the next few years along with Raekwon McMillan. I think there's more meat on the bone than what's being done with with Jerome Baker. I think Jerome Baker can be used as more of a blitzer off the edge. His combine measurables, are very similar to Von Miller's. Now, I'm not saying he's Von Miller. I'm saying he has the athletic ceiling to become someone of a pass rusher, kind of like that. If he can develop pass rush moves like that, I have no idea because I doubt it. He doesn't have no polished moves like Von Miller does, but he's got the same muscle build and body build. He's, I think, maybe like an inch or two shorter and like maybe 15 pounds lighter. But I think there's going to be some player movement in the linebackers. I think Van Ginkel was brought in here to push Jerome Baker, and I also think that there's another player we'll talk about later in the videos that can push Jerome Baker as well. Sammy the Slug, Ego Voen. I forgot about this guy completely and had to go back and put him on my list to talk about just a little bit here because he's currently on the roster. They tried to do a lot of different things with him last year, and he actually offers you a little bit of value of some blitz off the edge. Kind of like I was just talking about Jerome Baker. I think they should maybe even make Jerome Baker a situational pass rusher the same way they did with Ego Voen last year. Maybe throw them both in that role, see where it goes. For now, he's on the roster, but, we could obviously use an upgrade somewhere, anywhere from that point. So, moving AVG, Andrew Van Ginkel. Here's one of the main reasons why I think Jerome Baker, he probably does have a home on this team, and I'm probably fooling myself. But I think Andrew Van Ginkel was brought in here to push Jerome Baker and the rest of the linebackers to improve their play on the field. This dude does stack and shed really good, and he can play the flats well. So can Baker, though. I think Baker's biggest problem is that he doesn't stack and shed really well, Neither does Raekwon, really. He does, but he more like slices through it, you know what I mean? Picks his way through it. But I think there's a lot of meat on the bone with Van Ginkel. I think he can bring a lot to our defense from schematic standpoint. As far as he can cover and he can blitz a little, and he definitely can tackle. He checks a lot of the boxes as far as what I'm looking for in a linebacker. Here we go. Let's talk about the safeties. Eric Rowe was just re-signed recently, and he's got a lot of versatility. A lot of people really didn't like the beginning of the season with Eric Rowe. Heard a lot of people complaining about they didn't want him on the team. Things change and players change when they get put into different roles. And he's excelling at the tight end covering role and in the box kind of safety role. I like Eric Rowe. I like his physicality. I like his tackling. I like his football IQ. I think he's a building block moving forward. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they won't bring in another box safety. And I guarantee you they're going to think about bringing in a different center fielding safety. But I like Eric Rowe. Let's go on to another player. Bobby McCain. Right here, I think Bobby needs to go ahead and move back to his original role he used to have on the team, which is the slot cornerback. And if he's needed to play in a pinch in the safety, he can. If he needs to come in and play some outside cornerback, he can in a pinch as well. He just had a new deal recently and is still, I think, on the books through 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So he's into our future plans, and I would move him back down to slot. Here's one more guy I almost left out and then went back, and he's definitely on our roster. He's definitely there now, is Jamal Wiltz, and he will factor in next year. He can do a lot. He offers a lot of special teams value, gunner value. He can help you out in a numerous different ways. He might not be the best coverage deep back or corner, but he can tackle, comes up very physical, and I think he is in their future plans. The man, Nick Needham, he definitely is in the Dolphins' future plans and has come up out of nowhere last year. No one really wanted this dude around in the preseason, and I said, give him a chance. He's got some sweet feet, you guys. This guy's a dancer. He can move quick and plays with very good agility and great mechanics and discipline. He's got smooth hips in and out of his transition and has great back pedal. He can track down the ball a little bit, and he's going to develop more into his second season. This is a great player who can definitely help us out going into the next part of our journey as far as building as a football team. He's going to do some stuff to make the non-believers believers. I really like Nick Needham. I think maybe he's very underrated like he was last year, and I think he'll develop more.
Are those
sharks with laser beams attached to their heads? Cool. You mean I...
Yes, Nick Needham is very cool, especially his development, but not as cool as this guy, Xavier Howard. Will he or will he not be in camp and on the team, which I'm sure he will be. All charges were dropped. I'm sure he'll see some sort of a suspension by the NFL. And let's hope he's fully recovered and ready to roll here, you guys. He's a huge part of what we're trying to do. He's a big part of what Brian Flores wants in his corner. He wants a shutdown corner like Stephon Gilmore. And this is his Stephon Gilmore in his defense. Xavier's a building block. He's got great technique and mechanics. And he has excellent ball tracking skills, excellent hands, very physical. This is the guy we want to keep unless we're offered some great deal that I highly doubt see happening here. Xavier's here to stay. Okay, now let's press on to that part of the dry erase board, which it is these restricted, exclusive, and unrestricted free agents. This one right here would be Zach Seiler. He is a restricted free agent and somebody we really need to bring back. He's going to help us down low like he did last year. I seen numerous snaps where he just stood out to me right away. He's got really strong hands, very low center to gravity type of player who can help push the pocket, and he's very good against the run, and he can get after the passer a little bit. I think this is somebody we need to bring back, and I think he's definitely going to be in our future plans, especially for 2020 season. Vince Beagle, here's another guy. As soon as we made the trade from Kiko Alonso to get Beagle, I was so excited because I know he brings a lot of what Kiko would never be able to bring, and that's pass rush. This guy can make some pass rush moves. He needs to polish up some more pass rush moves and get counter moves, but he can stack and shed real well. Very aggressive, sideline to sideline player, high motor, and he'll finish his tackle. He can probably drop back and cover a little bit too. He played with Andrew Van Ginkel at Wisconsin. This guy is exactly what I want in a linebacker or an outside situational pass rusher type, and I guarantee this guy is brought back. He plays lights out with his hair on fire. We need to bring this dude back. I almost forgot to include to talk about some more of the big men down low before we moved on to the linebackers, and this is John Jenkins. He is a unrestricted free agent. He's in his 30s. I think he's 31, maybe 32, something like that. But he's 347 pounds and can easily help us out, fill that one tech hole that we have. So maybe we should think about bringing John Jenkins back. I know me, TD, Finn's Talk, and a couple other guys were talking about it on the live broadcast or live the other day, and we all think it might be a pretty good idea. The only thing that scares me from it is he's a little older, and I don't want to get sunk into nothing big deal. So as long as it's team friendly, we need to think about bringing this guy back to help us out, fill in for some snaps. I wouldn't hesitate from trying to get one in the draft, though, because there's a couple of them in there that we could use. Here's another outside linebacker, pass rusher, edge guy we should think about bringing back, and that's Trent Harris. He is also another guy that was pretty sure he's an exclusive rights free agent, or he's restricted, one of the two. It's on that dry erase board. But he offers us some pass rush value, and he can play the run a little bit, but more of a pass rusher. I think he could easily take Charles Harris's snaps. Calvin Munson came in and played pretty good for us. He is also, I think, on the restricted free agent docket part to be restricted. If they want to have some help at inside linebacker to push some more of the inside linebackers, they might think about bringing him back. He would definitely push someone like a Van Ginkel and Beagle if they're brought back. Obviously, maybe someone like the Turl Hanks, who's on the futures contract, could factor into the spot as well. So between those two, maybe Munson gets the nod there. Chase Allen got hurt last year and went onto the injury reserve. I love Chase Allen. I have since we brought him onto this team. I'm not willing to give up on this guy just yet. He's a restricted free agent, so if they lose him, maybe they'll get compensation for him. I'd love to bring this guy back and give him a chance. If he doesn't factor in, then we can get rid of him. But I'd love to give him another shot somewhere on the rotation, whether it's inside linebacker or outside. I think he's got versatility. He's got great instincts. Here's one guy no one's going to know about, Jamal Davis, I think the second out of Akron. He was a waiver pickup last year. He was an undrafted free agent last year. I think he was for Buffalo or someone like that. But his tape is real intriguing. He reminds me a lot of Dante Hightower from a blitz standpoint, where he actually has some polished pass rush moves, and he's very physical, sideline to sideline, players with his hair on fire. And I think he somehow, some way finds his way onto this team next year and factors into some sort of a backup role, situational pass rusher, depth on our roster. I like Jamal Davis. Nate Brooks, an exclusive rights free agent that they really need to think about bringing back. He played so good in that Patriots game. That's when I was totally sold on this kid. I think he offers us a lot of flexibility and, can factor into the other cornerback battle on the other side of the field. This is a guy I guarantee they bring back, because I know they saw what I saw. He's very aggressive. He has great instincts, can play the ball very well, and he can tackle. Adrian Colbert, this is another guy they're talking about already bringing back and is a restricted free agent. I think they want to bring this safety back and have him. I don't think he's as good at the center field safety as he is at the box safety. I think he'll help you from a lot of standpoints of special teams and factor into a little bit of the defense. I think this is a guy they'll definitely think about bringing back. Steven Parker, we didn't even get into him. He's actually part of the active roster still and is still on the roster. He offers you a little bit more for the deep safety part of the field, but he also can play the box safety role. I think he offers you some special teams ability as well. Could factor into a gunner role if he had to. He's on the roster right now as it stands. That'll about do it for the defensive side of the ball. Just real quick, go back to that dry erase board to look at the free agents that are there, and the R's are restricted, the ERs are the exclusive rights free agents, and the URs are the unrestricted free agents. So Jenkins and Walt Aikens are the only unrestricted free agents that are there. Dion Lacey, we picked him up, I think, off waivers too. He's also restricted. And Lyndon Stevens, I don't think will factor in too deep into it. And that'll pretty much wrap us up on the defensive side, folks. So catch us on the next one. Well, we're going to go more into the offensive side of the football. We already did one, so we'll do it again more in depth. And then we'll talk a little bit about some free agents as well, and maybe a little bit of the draft, not too much. As always, like the video, subscribe, and we will catch you guys up onto the next one. Deuces.